Ultimately, the role of a manager is to implement the vision of the artist more than anything. So we spend a lot of time engaging with the artist, and I use that in a very nonchalant way. But
So I had to have his guy come through and come on the air. William, how are you?
good morning, Sibo, and good morning to all your listeners.
I know usually you're the one, you're the man behind the man, and we never get to see the man behind the man.
I absolutely hate the mic. But I made a special exception for you and your listeners today. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming.
Awesome.
So let's get into it. How did you know that you just had the skills to manage artists or just creatives, especially in the entertainment industry? Because artists can be quite fickle. You know what I mean?
Quite. I've always had a passion for music and the arts and the creative sector, and I think I also enjoy connecting people and leveraging my skills to better or progress the concept of African music. So when I started working with artists in the peripheral of what I enjoyed, which was music, because I also made music at a certain point, I saw that I could actually help them achieve some goals through my network and my skill set. So started implementing that, and the more I implemented it, I started getting more confident in it, and people started to suggest, hey, why don't you move into this industry, because you seem to have like a knack for it. And the second I started working with DJ Sonia about 3 or 4 years ago, and we saw results, and we sort of took it from there.
Now, Namibia is quite for lack of a better word, or just to be kosher about it, interesting industry.
Quite.
And that we're still growing, and we're still trying to monetize, and we're still trying to just, make it into a sustainable business, the business of entertainment and artistry. What has been some of the challenges that you have found, particularly working in Namibia, and how are you navigating that?
Wow. So, for instance, I can give you some very blunt truths about the industry in Namibia. Firstly, everyone presumes or assumes they are a superstar here, which is not a bad thing, but what it does is it sullies the water, because you can't distinctively celebrate one unique individual as a collective. And normally, if you look at most other musical societies, predominantly like South Africa or the United States or England, what they do is they elevate one individual who then becomes the portrayal of their culture at that particular moment. And what happens is then the light of the world is then shown on that person through celebrating that person, the unique context in which they represent. The light comes back to the rest of the industry. But here you have a lot of onions. There's no peas or tomatoes, for lack of a better phrase.
So we're not very collaborative as artists.
I think it's very one-dimensional. The collective is not a collective to benefit the culture. It's normally to benefit self. I think that's where we pivoted with Waters, and DJ Sonia. I think I can let slip. We were actually finalizing DJ Sonia's album just yesterday. It's coming up in July.
Had it heard first, guys. You heard it here first.
Literally, this is the first time we've spoken about it. And she's got 20 collaborations on her album.
Shut your mouth.
20. Yeah.
But isn't that easy for a DJ though, honestly? I mean, when you look at your Calvin Harris, they always have multiple people, because they don't sing, they're just there with the beat. So it would be easier, no, for someone like for your Sonia?
It would be, because I think that would be the assumption. But then, with genres, especially genre specific DJs, it's very hard to then organize and manage that whole collaboration process, because for instance, I can let slip that she's got Cetriel on the album. She's got Nkosazana's daughter on the album, and a whole bunch of other artists. And for you to actually get those people into studio is a nightmare sometimes.
True.
Yeah. So the process of managing that is not as easy as it might sound. But then, for instance, like with Waters, I think it's easier depending on the team you have. I think, But ultimately, with DJ Sonia, we had a really bit of a tiff,
And now, if someone who's listening, they're like, okay, of course, I want a manager. There's someone called a manager. What does your day-to-day actually on the ground look like? What I know, it must be so complex. But if you can just surmise, like it's like I look at A, B, C, D, E, and I still have to babysit them because that goes into it as well, and stroke their egos every now and again.
I mean, ultimately, the role of a manager is to implement the vision of the artist more than anything. So we spend a lot of time engaging with the artist, and I use that in a very nonchalant way, but I spend a lot of time with Waters. I spend a lot of time with any of the other artists that I work with in and around Southern Africa, talking to them, making sure they are fine mentally, emotionally, physically. So there's a lot of discussions about their physical well-being. There's a lot of discussion about their fiscal well-being. We talk about savings. To surmise, my day-to-day is like a father.
Yeah.
But also I am a boyfriend.
Yeah.
And a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because management.
And an aunt and a sister.
And a graphic designer and a social media manager. Also, I'm a PR manager because you have to be telling them things like, you shouldn't post that. You can post that. Maybe this might harm your brand. But also, ultimately, you're just that one person who gives them the right sort of advice at certain intervals. You don't overimpose yourself within their lifestyle, but you try and insert yourself in a strategic manner which allows them to flourish and to thrive. Yeah.
So, I know very few managers in Namibia as compared to other countries, even of the same size, like for example, even in Botswana, you know what I mean? And I hear a lot of artists saying it's really hard to find a good manager. What do you think that is in Namibia?
Okay, I think it goes back to my initial statement about everyone being a superstar here. There's a lot of egomaniacs, and people will have to forgive me, but that's the blunt truth of what's happening here. I've spent one of my key strengths is analyzing and psychoanalyzing people. So I'll spend a few minutes with people, and already you can tell with their temperament and how they carry themselves, what sort of an individual that person is. And here, I think a lot of people have to let go of self and do a lot of introspection to understand what is for the betterment of the greater good. And, there's a lot of egos and a lot of flexing of muscles, but also in the same vein, there's not a work ethic which bolsters that ego.
I see.
I always tell Waters, for instance, success is in your bank account. It's not on the streets. It's not on numbers.
Come on now.
I cannot be bothered by social media numbers because ultimately, from a marketing perspective, we use those numbers to leverage to brands in order to get endorsement, ultimately to get bank. So I always say to Waters and anyone I work with, success is in your bank account. The minute you start having 1 million cents in your bank,
that's when you know.
That's when you start to register. Oh, flip! I've succeeded in a way. Yeah.
Now, just to conclude, I just want you to talk to two people.
Okay.
One, advice to the artists out there.
Yes, ma'am.
And secondly, to the managers or aspiring managers and say, hey, look at A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Okay. That's awesome, actually. I think to the artists, first of all, focus on the music. Focus on the artistry and refining your artistry and becoming the best possible artist you can be, and that just goes across the board. When you speak with most motivational speakers, they'll tell you that you have to be a maverick at what you do. Seek for the pinnacle, and then a lot of things start to become easier. And I guess that's my ultimate advice for an artist. But for an artist manager, you know yourself. You know that you are not the talent. You are the behind the scenes, you are the backbone. And the spine is just as essential, if not more important than the body.
True.
Without the spine, the body can't function properly. You can't move, you can't engage with a whole bunch of things that you want to engage with. So as an artist manager, you have to be always willing to be flexible, but also understand that not all the time should the light be on you.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it was very hard to get you. It's like, don't do this. I was like, come on, sir, come on. No, I really appreciate you coming, William. Before
Thank
I
you
go,
so much.
I just need you to touch on a little bit on our earlier topic on the morning show, talking about nostalgia and being a millennial during music. What is your nostalgic moment when it comes to growing up a millennial, whether it's cassettes, whether it's CDs, whether it's going to musica, whether it's, I don't know, did you write a letter via lyrics? Sir, did you? Were you one of those?
100%. I had a lyrics book.
Did you?
Yeah, so I think as a millennial, my nostalgic moment is cassette tapes.
Oh yeah,
rewinding them with a pen. Yeah, that was it for me. And also, even when I think about how we used to consume music back in the day, you could only listen to your favorite songs on a Friday on Hitsville. And I used to have the top 100 written on a notebook.
Oh, wow.
And then next week I would compare,
so who moved where?
UB40 came down, Janet Jackson.
You were serious.
No, I'm a staunch fan of music. I love music.
I know you're also a visual artist. This is the last we're really out of town.
Okay.
Music video that stood out for you before YouTube, where you have to really wait to go watch it.
Exactly.
Music video.
Oh man, like music videos. I remember the one time my mom was in South Africa for a few years, and she sent me a cassette tape, a VHS cassette tape of Nkalagata.
Hey!
I watched that video for 7 months. So that just illustrates you how important music videos were at that time. And how we consumed them was very different to now.
No, music is very pivotal to our lives, and I'm just so fortunate to have had you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's awesome.
So this has been Sibo in the Morning, World Music Day, and we just spoke to William Sampind, who's artist manager for Timeless New Art and Entertainment, TNA guys, TNA. And he's the manager of the award-winning Talented Water. Speaking of which, here he is with Mashudu saying Kwelizayo.
Oh, yeah. Aye.